What is the dumpling? Why is the dumpling? Well, first of all, everyone loves dumplings.
Dumplings are just pockets of divine goodness.
It can be the fanciest food, and it can be the 2 in the morning, super cheap, stuff your face kind of food.
They sort of are a package and maybe like the world's oldest to-go box.
It's the perfect bite.
I think the dumpling is kind of a microcosm of all of gastronomy in a little bite. There is no culture in which dumplings do not play some role.
Dumplings were buried in tombs. They're very important.
The unknown, something being hidden, something being inside of something else, like treasure, like it's buried treasure, that kind of thing. I think it kind of feeds into like a human fantasy.
It goes across the world.
I think everything wrapped in something else, and even some things unwrapped, but just doughy and dense, owe a debt to the dumpling.
Dumplings seem to be the solution to the problem of not having enough food and too many mouths to feed.
Dumplings are filling, and throughout most of history, foods that were filling were really important.
You take starch and you wrap it around something, you cook it, and all of a sudden you have a sterile environment that you're able to carry an otherwise perishable meat or vegetable.
It's like medicine for me, the dumpling, actually. Chinese dumplings in particular. I love dim sum. It's one of my favorite gastronomic experiences in the world.
In China, in old days, dumpling is a festivity meal. When bride get married on her wedding day, she will eat as many dumplings as her age. We use dumplings to say goodbye when somebody leaves the family for a long trip. But nowadays, you can eat the dumplings for breakfast, you can eat the dumplings for dinner, you can eat the dumplings all day long. Since I was born, since I started to remember things, I remember dumplings. I always watch my mom and grandma cooking in the kitchen. I was amazed to see how bits of vegetables and the meat and a little bit of dough can form into such an artistic shape, and so delicious.
The geographic origin and the climate and the culture have something to do with how a dish is prepared, and regardless of the dish, whether it's dumplings or something else. For example, the Nepali make something called momo.
Momos is the Indian version of dumplings. It has been brought to India, specifically to northern India in Dharamsala, because of the prominent Tibetan population which resides there. In Indian momos, we add a little bit of cilantro, we add a little bit of scallions and chopped chilies, and the differentiating factor is the condiment that goes with it. We normally serve it with a chili sambal. Each one has their own sauce that accompanies it, and that's what makes it.
Virtually every major culture, nationality has some form of dumpling. Pierogies, or as they're called in Ukrainian, vareniki, are very much a part of Eastern European culture. So by far the most traditional and most popular is potato, mashed potato and onion, sometimes a little cheese. This is really very much a tradition that is passed down from mom to daughter or grandma to granddaughter. Pierogies have been a part of our menu here for 65 years, and I've always been a little concerned that as newer generations come along, that this skill be lost. So far that hasn't been the case.
There's a dish called manti, which is this tiny, tiny little dumpling.
Manti is a traditional Armenian dish. We have a very large Armenian diaspora in Lebanon. They constitute almost 4% of our population. To prepare manti, you need the patience of an angel, because it takes a lot of hard work to fill those little dough boats with meat. I don't know of anyone who doesn't like manti, so I highly encourage that you go and taste it.
To me, dumplings have to be either fried, steamed, or boiled.
I think a dumpling kind of boils down to like a one bite kind of thing, and it's meant to be consumed as a fork or a chopstick. I think the weirder argument is a ravioli a dumpling?
It feels like Italy and Italian cuisine loom so large that when they define a category, they get to own it.
A ravioli it's like almost approaching its own food group. I mean, it fits all the criteria of what a dumpling would be, but Italian food is Italian food, and if anybody wants to fight with you about food, and it's an Italian person.
So I would put ravioli into Italy's category, and then all the rest are dumplings.
So dumplings are such an old, I mean, that's, not only is it one of the oldest foods that we can kind of cite, it's also one of those extremely universal foods that somehow, by hook or by crook, has ended up in almost every kind of cuisine all over the world.
Dumplings are kind of like a denominator, a common denominator for every culture. And if you love dumplings, as I think most people do, in your own culture, then you want to discover the other culture's dumplings.